So the voices in my head said that they made my daughter's tutor unavailable for her to punish me and my daughter because I am refusing not to discuss that they are talking in my head. They are saying they're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists using a telepathy weapon, and they have made my hair fall out, made me swell. These are all injuries. They make my they blurred my vision. They make me dizzy, and they deprive me of sleep almost every single night. They are constantly talking in my head, in my head, and the the and how they're talking in my head and trying to, and at the same time screaming that they're real people so that I do not seek medical attention. They have tried to pretend they are my neighbors. They have tried to pretend I've been hacked. They have tried to pretend that I am being investigated by the police department. However, all of which is not true. I have placed cameras to record what's going on. Or what I can hear from within my four walls, and I can never hear anything. So it's obvious it's in my head what I'm hearing. Plus, I have witnesses and people. I mean, there's no one calling the cops. The things that they've said are threatening, derogatory, vulgar. They're alarming. There's absolutely no way anyone would have heard what I've heard in my head and not thought to call the cops or to call them and not to call them. So with that said, I find it. I'm sorry. The the terrorists are continuing. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. I want them sentenced to death. I mean, the damages done are beyond repair. I want them sentenced to death. They're talking in my head, and that's that. They're implanting thoughts. Um, they're uh, they're they're trying to manipulate a narrative to control the narrative, and they're trying to manipulate the records, and it's just like a whole bunch of stuff that they're doing using a highly sophisticated technology that they've been permitted to use, that in which case the records produced by these technologies, if in fact used to investigate, are held classified. I don't believe the weapons themselves are held confidential. They're not classified. It's the records themselves. And so the voices in my head are trafficking, trying to make sure, I guess, to be permitted to use the weapons or the surveillance technologies. However, does cost a pretty penny, and therefore they're trying to keep, this is what they're saying, keep people at a disadvantage from having the financial means to utilize such a such a weapon. So, uh, because eventually it'd be found out that these terrorists have been trafficking people, especially if it's coming from an honest person that genuinely has assets to protect and isn't trying to, and has no no reason to use this technology for anything other than what it's supposed to be used for. So, with that said, I'm tired of what's going on. They've been laughing all morning, like hysterically laughing in my head. It's psychotic. They speak Arabic and English fluently. They sound like they were born and raised in America, U.S. citizens, educated here. They don't sound like fobs. These sound like American, Egyptian Americans, either born and raised here or lived in the U.S. for a majority of their lives, and specifically in California. You can tell by the accent. I can hear, I mean, I obviously know, but I can't prove that to anybody, but I am telling you from what I hear, this is what I've gathered, this is what it sounds like. So all I can imagine is that they're in LA or Orange County, and there are several of them talking in my head that, and they're 24/7, so they're on a schedule. So that part is, I mean, I would just assume that's probably the easiest way, if ever, if this ever comes to the forefront, which I believe it is, because I've been reading up on I've just been searching for answers, and I can tell, and it's obvious. There are several entities that have discussed these records indirectly and and the investigations that are being conducted, or investigations, and basically just they're subliminal messages because these are confidential investigations. But in the media, all over the place, there are these signs that are saying, okay, they're basically on these terrorist asses, and they're attempting to clear up any um, any possible loopholes where the records can be manipulated. Um, in which case, in California and Orange County specifically, they're doing like full-fledged surveillance, like they're upgrading their local police department, security systems so that they can tap into every camera, phone, whatever, yada, yada, yada. So it's obvious that, and then now the FBI and the Central Intelligence Agencies and several private entities are getting involved with gathering all the information necessary, collecting cookies, and all of which from your computers and your devices to account for where your for each person's whereabouts, so that the terrorist talking in my head can no longer make any false claims against them, because now there is tangible evidence that in fact they aren't or weren't where these terrorists are saying they were. And anyways, it's like a full, like what's going on in my head is just like it doesn't sound like I sound like I've lost my marbles, but I haven't. And it's a lot more. I guess if it came out to the forefront, it wouldn't be as complicated to explain. But being that it's not, and all of it is confidential, all these investigations going on are confidential, it is a little harder to explain. So nonetheless, I'm doing my very best. They are talking in my head. That's all I have to say. And I want them sentenced to death. They're trying to get away with genocide, terrorism, war crimes, crimes against humanity, money laundering, property damage, sex trafficking, drugging, defaming, framing, sentencing, and convicting to death innocent people. So, yeah, they're talking in my head. And because I'm saying all of this, and making it clear on my medical records what I'm hearing, and I'm not allowing any room for any discrepancies with these terrorist investigation records. They're trying to basically twist my arm using my daughter, saying they're going to make me and my daughter and my son struggle and suffer as if we weren't going to do it anyway. They're in my head. So for me, it's like I'm at a loss anyway. Might as well make sure that I take down these terrorists while I'm at it. You know, they have no incentive to offer me. And not to say that I would take anything because they're terrorists, but the truth is, like, if they really were of a higher power and I had no choice, and this is my daughter and it's save her life, and just like anybody with a gun held to their head, if, it's just this one's not a visible one. It's not one that you can detect with any of your five senses, but, you're gonna submit to whoever it is holding the gun to your head. So with that said, it seems as though they were out to do this anyway. They've said it on a million occasions. You should have fell harder. We're the ones who tried to crack your head open, because I fell and I hit my head really hard. I actually dented the back of my head. And the terrorist in my head said, what part do you not understand? I almost cracked your head open. And all I can think is that piece of shit never said anything when he was trying to crack my head open. Why? And so he was obviously after it before he started talking in my head. Why in the hell would I? And then I don't know him. I can't see him. I don't know what they're doing. So it's like all this crazy talk in my head. So I'm just, for me, this feels like not feels like, but based on my calculations, it's just the smartest, safest moves for my family in particular, to make sure that these terrorists don't get away with misusing these technologies and murder, flat out. So yeah, there that is. And they are Egyptian American Muslim women, okay? In particular, the women the women are, in my opinion, because I hear men and women, Egyptian American Muslim men and women, and only Egyptian American Muslim men and women. And how I know they're American Egyptian Muslim in particular, they've said Muslim over and over again, and it makes sense. They're not Coptic Orthodox, I can promise you that. But it's just they're talking in Arabic all the time, and it's like they're not the terrorists talking in my head, wherever they're talking from, wherever the remote location is that they're using their computer that has the ability to log into the softwares with this technologies where basically they can access these signals to talk to you telepathically. So wherever they are, that remote location, they're not allowing anybody. There aren't white Americans or African Americans or Asians or anybody walking into that house. I know that for a fact. I hear them every second of the day. We've actually had full-on conversations. I know this sounds crazy, but in my head, where it's like I'm talking to the terrorists, talking in my head, and then I'm trying to understand where they're coming from. So they try to play on my emotions, and they'll sit there and they'll, oh, but we're going to get sentenced to death. Oh, we're women. Oh, we're this. Oh, we're that. They're criminals. They're talking in my head, and at the same time trying to act like they're the victims. And then they're talking in my head. So I'm like, at this point, I want to record every second of the day to make sure No one is held responsible for the voices I hear in my head when these terrorists go to request these records or request monetary compensation. If in fact they were clever enough to manipulate them, and manipulate whoever is, holds possession of them, whatever the case is. I want to leave zero room for arguments. If anything, all I want to do is provide evidence that these terrorists are nothing but fucking liars. They're psychopaths, and they need to be sentenced to death, and that's final. So again, they said they manipulated my daughter's tutor's schedule, to intentionally, to hurt me and my daughter, to make sure that we aren't, that my daughter isn't getting the attention she needs, and to make sure that, but it's just not that to punish me for saying that they're talking in my head. So they're abusing my daughter and myself. Anyways, I'm done. Who are the Central Intelligence agents that are conducting investigations to investigations to on these terrorists, you know, claiming to be investigating me. This is really for you. This is why I'm leaving all of these videos. I don't expect anybody else to really understand what's going on, but that's basically what's going on in my head. So I know that's majority of the ones that hold the highest level of security have already know what's going on with these records because they sit behind them. However, to the confidential informants that they send out, that they can't, because of the conflict of interest, that they can't provide information on the investigations being conducted. But however, they send them out to gather as much evidence to stop the use of these weapons and these investigations. This is for you guys. This is for you guys. I'm like, I want, all I'm going to do is provide as much evidence as possible. Just last night, I was in emergency. It's been the 5th or 6th night in a row that they have deprived me of sleep. And not to mention, I'm getting back into my routine. I now know they're in my head. Before, I thought they were my neighbors, so I kept moving, thinking someone was stalking me. So now that I have a more solid understanding and foundation, and I'm now trying to get back into the routine of things, it is like all they want to do is steer me back, out into hysteria and have me, excuse me, running around, chasing my tail, getting absolutely nowhere, to say that I'm doing drugs, that I'm drinking, I'm smoking, I'm entertaining the wrong company, that I'm voluntarily leaving because, I feel uncomfortable because of the neighbors. The terrorists in my head are just full of shit. I'm not moving. I'm not submitting to their bullshit. And, it is what it is. So yeah, I'm done. I just want to provide as much evidence as possible. I'm working from home. I was working in the office, but I took time off to go seek medical attention and make sure that I had a medical professional, a team of medical professionals to diagnose me and to help me, help me get treated for the voices, which we've been attempting to do now for over a year. I am submissive to all the medical attention that that they're suggesting, and thus far I haven't found much relief. But I do find relief in the therapy and just knowing that there are professionals out there that won't give up on you. So, and at the same time, to provide records of any injuries if, in fact, I'm not crazy and I've been hacked. Just like, it's just a bunch of layers of stuff. So if you don't understand what's going on, I apologize. It's probably best you disregard it. If and to the ones that do, well, hopefully you, when it's time, or and there's enough records produced that this is one of the records that you can provide to put an end to these investigations using telepathy weapons by these terrorists talking in my head. All right. Have a great day.